Let me tell you about Steve Jobs. Before he became the billionaire icon we know today, he was making a critical mistake that was costing him millions in lost opportunities. In his early presentations at Apple, he would focus obsessively on technical specifications while completely ignoring his audience's emotional needs. He was brilliant, but he was broke compared to his potential. The turning point came when he discovered Dale Carnegie's principles and realized he was committing one of the 7 deadly sins of public speaking. He was talking to impress instead of talking to connect. The day he fixed this single error, everything changed. His presentations became legendary, his influence skyrocketed, and his wealth followed. But here's the secret that will intrigue you. Jobs wasn't the only one making these mistakes. Carnegie identified 7 specific errors that 95% of speakers commit without even realizing it. These invisible mistakes are the difference between those who struggle financially and those who build empires through their words. What if I told you that you're probably making at least 5 of these errors right now, and each one is costing you thousands in lost income? What if the very thing you think makes you a good speaker is actually the thing that's keeping you poor? The sacrifice Jobs made was letting go of his ego and learning to speak for his audience, not himself. That single shift turned him into one of the most influential communicators in history and multiplied his wealth beyond imagination. Here's what nobody tells you about public speaking mistakes. They're not obvious failures that embarrass you. They're subtle errors that seem right, but are actually sabotaging your income potential in ways you don't even notice. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 disturbing mistakes that could be costing you thousands of dollars every month without you realizing it. Dale Carnegie spent decades studying why some speakers become wealthy, while others with equal talent struggle. What he discovered will shock you. It's not about charisma, confidence, or even knowledge. It's about avoiding specific mistakes that destroy your influence before you even finish speaking. Here's the brutal reality. These mistakes are so common that your audience expects them. They've been conditioned to tune out speakers who make these errors. But when you eliminate just 3 of these mistakes, you immediately stand out as someone worth listening to, worth following, and worth paying. Within the next 3 months, fixing these errors could increase your income through better presentations, more successful negotiations, stronger networking, and enhanced leadership presence. But here's what makes this realistic, not magical. These aren't personality changes. They're simple behavioral adjustments that anyone can master with practice. The challenge is that most of these mistakes feel natural. They seem like the right thing to do because everyone else is doing them. But that's exactly why they're so destructive. You're blending in when you should be standing out. Are you ready to discover which of these 7 mistakes you're making right now? Because what I'm about to reveal will make you question everything you thought you knew about effective communication. Mistake 1, the ego trap. Did you know that the #1 mistake speakers make is also the most expensive one? It's what Dale Carnegie called the ego trap. Talking about yourself instead of talking about your audience's problems and dreams. Here's what happens. You get up to speak and immediately start with your credentials, your experience, your achievements. You think this builds credibility, but Carnegie discovered it actually builds resentment. Your audience doesn't care about your success until they know you care about theirs. Steve Jobs made this mistake for years. He would spend entire presentations talking about Apple's innovations without ever addressing what those innovations meant for the customer's life. The day he flipped this script and started talking about how Apple products would change their world, his presentations became legendary and his sales exploded. The secret to avoiding this trap is what Carnegie called the you focus. For every sentence about yourself, you need 3 sentences about them. Instead of "I'm excited to share," say "you're about to discover." Instead of "in my experience," say "what you'll find is." This simple shift transforms you from a presenter into a problem solver. But here's what nobody tells you. This mistake costs you money in ways you don't realize. When you talk about yourself, people see you as someone trying to sell them something. When you talk about them, they see you as someone trying to help them succeed. Think about this while you keep watching. How many sentences in your last presentation were about you versus about them? But there's an even more dangerous mistake. That's probably costing you even more money. Mistake 2. The information overload. What nobody tells you is that smart people make the most expensive speaking mistake of all. They share too much information. Carnegie discovered that the speakers who knew the most often influenced the least, and this paradox is costing brilliant people millions in lost opportunities. Here's the disturbing truth. Your audience can only remember 3 things from any presentation. 3, not 30, not 13, just 3. When you try to share everything you know, you guarantee they'll remember nothing you said. It's cognitive science, not opinion. Jobs learned this the hard way when his early product launches flopped, despite being packed with amazing features. The breakthrough came when he reduced every presentation to 3 key points maximum. Suddenly, people could remember and repeat his message, which led to viral word-of-mouth marketing worth millions. The secret Carnegie taught is the power of 3. Pick your 3 most important points and build everything around them. Cut everything else, no matter how interesting or relevant it seems. This requires a painful sacrifice. You must kill your darlings and trust that less is more. But here's where most people fail. They think more information equals more value. Wrong. More clarity equals more value. When your message is crystal clear, people can act on it. When it's cluttered with details, they get overwhelmed and do nothing. Think about this. What are the 3 things you want people to remember from your next conversation? But avoiding information overload isn't enough if you're making the 3rd deadly mistake that destroys credibility instantly. Mistake 3. The perfection paradox. Did you know that trying to be perfect in your presentations actually makes you less trustworthy? This is what Carnegie called the perfection paradox, and it's one of the most counterintuitive discoveries in communication psychology. Here's what happens. You rehearse until every word is perfect. Eliminate every pause. Smooth out every rough edge. You think this makes you more professional, but it actually makes you seem fake and disconnected from reality. Perfect speakers don't seem human, and humans don't trust what doesn't seem human. Jobs initially made this mistake by over-rehearsing his presentations until they felt robotic. The magic happened when he started including planned imperfections, strategic pauses, deliberate stumbles, moments of genuine emotion. These flaws made him more relatable and his message more memorable. The secret is what Carnegie called strategic vulnerability. You deliberately include small, authentic moments that show your humanity. A brief pause to collect your thoughts, acknowledging when something is challenging, sharing a moment of genuine uncertainty. These moments don't weaken your authority. They strengthen your connection. But here's the sacrifice most people won't make. You must give up the illusion of having all the answers. You must be willing to appear human instead of superhuman. This feels risky, but it's actually what creates trust and influence. The brutal reality is that perfect presentations are forgettable presentations. Flawed, authentic, human presentations are the ones that change minds and open wallets. Think about this. When was the last time a perfect presentation moved you to action? But there's another mistake that's even more subtle and probably costing you opportunities every single day. Mistake 4, the monotone trap. What nobody tells you is that how you say something matters more than what you say, and most speakers are unknowingly putting their audience to sleep. Carnegie discovered that monotone delivery is the silent killer of influence. It makes even brilliant ideas sound boring and forgettable. Here's the disturbing reality. Your voice has only 7 seconds to capture attention before people start mentally checking out. If those 7 seconds sound flat, robotic, or lifeless, you've lost them before you've even begun. This isn't about being dramatic or theatrical. It's about being human and alive in your delivery. Jobs transformed his speaking when he learned to use what Carnegie called vocal variety. Instead of speaking in the same tone throughout, he would whisper for emphasis, pause for drama, and raise his energy for excitement. This vocal choreography kept audiences hanging on every word. The secret is treating your voice like a musical instrument with volume, pace, and pitch controls. Important points get spoken slower and louder. Intimate moments get delivered softer and closer. Questions naturally rise in pitch. This isn't manipulation. It's how humans naturally communicate when they're passionate. But here's the sacrifice that stops most people. You must be willing to feel foolish while you practice. Speaking with vocal variety feels unnatural at first because most of us have been trained to speak professionally, which usually means boring. The brutal truth is that boring speakers, no matter how knowledgeable, don't get promoted, don't get funded, and don't get followed. Engaging speakers, even with less knowledge, get opportunities. Think about this. Does your voice sound the same throughout your presentations? But vocal variety means nothing if you're making the 5th mistake that instantly destroys audience connection. Mistake 5. The eye contact error. Did you know that where you look while speaking determines whether people trust you or dismiss you? And most speakers are looking in all the wrong places. Carnegie discovered that eye contact isn't just about confidence. It's about creating the psychological bonds that turn audiences into advocates. Here's what most people get wrong. They either avoid eye contact completely, stare at one person uncomfortably, or do the lighthouse sweep where they mechanically scan the room without really connecting with anyone. All of these patterns destroy trust and make you seem either nervous, aggressive, or robotic. Jobs initially struggled with this because he would focus on his slides or stare at the back wall. The breakthrough came when he learned Carnegie's complete thought technique, making eye contact with one person for one complete thought, then moving to another person for the next complete thought. This creates the illusion of personal conversation even in large groups. The secret is understanding that eye contact creates psychological intimacy. When you look someone in the eyes while delivering an important point, their brain interprets this as a personal message meant specifically for them. This triggers engagement and memory formation in ways that general speaking cannot. But here's the sacrifice that terrifies most speakers. You must be willing to see your audience's real reactions. Sometimes they look bored, confused, or skeptical. Most speakers avoid eye contact because they don't want to see negative feedback. But this feedback is actually invaluable information. The brutal reality is that speakers who avoid eye contact seem like they're hiding something or don't believe their own message. Think about this. Where do your eyes go when you're speaking? But even perfect eye contact won't save you if you're making the sixth mistake that makes audiences tune out instantly. Mistake 6. The energy drain. What nobody tells you is that your energy level determines your audience's energy level, and most speakers are unknowingly sucking the life out of the room. Carnegie discovered that energy isn't just about enthusiasm. It's about creating the emotional state that makes people want to listen, learn, and act. Here's the disturbing truth. Low energy is contagious. When you speak with low energy, you literally make your audience tired. Their brain mirrors your energy state, so if you're flat and lifeless, they become flat and lifeless. This isn't psychology, it's neuroscience. Jobs learned this when he realized his early presentations were technically perfect, but emotionally dead. The transformation came when he started treating every presentation like a performance, bringing physical energy that matched the importance of his message. This wasn't fake enthusiasm. It was authentic passion made visible. The secret Carnegie taught is energy matching. Your physical energy should match the importance of your message. Life-changing information deserves life-changing energy. Routine updates can be delivered with routine energy, but most speakers deliver everything at the same flat level. But here's the sacrifice that stops most people. You must be willing to feel vulnerable and exposed. High-energy speaking requires you to put your personality on display. You can't hide behind professionalism or formality. You have to show up as a real, passionate human being. The brutal reality is that people don't buy products or ideas. They buy the energy and emotion behind those products and ideas. Low-energy speakers don't get investment, don't get support, and don't get results. Think about this. What's your energy level during presentations compared to when you're talking about something you love? But there's one final mistake that's probably costing you more opportunities than all the others combined. Mistake 7. The weak ending. Did you know that how you end your presentation determines whether people take action or forget everything you said? This is what Carnegie called the recency effect. And it's the reason most speakers fail to create lasting impact despite delivering valuable content. Here's what most people get wrong. They end with, "Any questions?" or "Thank you for your time," or simply trail off without a clear conclusion. These weak endings waste everything you've built during your presentation. Your audience's last impression becomes their lasting impression. Jobs transformed his endings when he learned to finish with what Carnegie called the challenge close. Instead of asking for questions, he would challenge his audience with a vision of what their life could look like if they acted on what they'd learned. This created urgency and momentum instead of confusion and complacency. The secret is understanding that your ending should be your strongest moment, not your weakest. It should crystallize your main message, create emotional resonance, and provide a clear next step. Your last 30 seconds are more important than your first 30 seconds because they determine what happens after you stop speaking. But here's the sacrifice that most speakers won't make. You must be willing to ask for something specific. Weak speakers end with vague pleasantries. Strong speakers end with clear calls to action that might be rejected. This feels risky, but it's the only way to create real results. The brutal reality is that presentations without strong endings are just entertainment. People feel good while listening, but do nothing afterward. The ending is where education transforms into action. Think about this. How do your presentations typically end, and what specific action do you want people to take? Now let me show you how to apply all of this even if you're starting from scratch. If today your bank account is at 0 or less, this is specifically for you. I want you to know that Dale Carnegie himself started as a poor farm boy who was making every single one of these 7 mistakes when he first tried to speak publicly. The good news? Fixing these mistakes costs nothing but courage and practice. Here's your starting point. Pick just one mistake from the 7 we discussed and focus on eliminating it completely before moving to the next one. Don't try to fix everything at once. That's mistake number 8 that I didn't even mention. Start with mistake number 1, the ego trap. For the next week, in every conversation you have, practice making it about the other person instead of about you. At the grocery store, ask the cashier how their day is going and really listen. In work meetings, ask questions about other people's challenges before sharing your own ideas. Practice mistake number 7, the week ending, by finishing every conversation with something specific. Instead of, "See you later," try, "I'm excited to hear how that project goes for you." Instead of ending phone calls with, "Bye," end with, "Let me know what you think about that idea we discussed." You're already one step ahead because you decided to watch this video to this point. That tells me you're committed to improvement, not just entertainment. Most people consume content, but never implement it. The fact that you're still here means you're in the minority who actually wants to change. Start today with just one mistake. Master it completely, then move to the next one. Each mistake you eliminate will compound your influence and income potential. Comment below with which mistake you're going to tackle first and commit to practicing it this week. Let me leave you with something that might disturb you, but it's the truth Dale Carnegie discovered after studying thousands of speakers across decades. Success in speaking, like success in life, isn't for everyone. Not because people can't learn these skills, but because most people won't sacrifice their comfort to master them. The real price of eliminating these mistakes isn't time or effort. It's ego. You have to be willing to admit you've been doing things wrong. You have to be willing to feel awkward while you practice new behaviors. You have to be willing to risk looking foolish while you develop skills that will make you wealthy. Most people would rather stay comfortable making these 7 mistakes than feel uncomfortable while fixing them. They'd rather blend in with the 95% who speak poorly than stand out with the 5% who speak powerfully. They want the rewards of great communication without the risks that come with change. But that's not you, is it? You didn't watch this far to stay exactly the same person you were when you started. Carnegie understood something profound that most people never grasp. Your words shape your world, but only if you're willing to sacrifice the comfort of speaking, like everyone else. Every mistake you eliminate makes you more valuable, more influential, and ultimately more wealthy. The truth is, these 7 mistakes are keeping millions of talented people invisible and broke. They have brilliant ideas, valuable knowledge, and genuine passion, but their communication mistakes ensure that nobody listens, nobody remembers, and nobody acts. So here's my final question for you. Are you willing to sacrifice the comfort of your current speaking habits for the possibility of transforming your influence and income? Are you willing to feel awkward for a few weeks to feel powerful for the rest of your life? Leave me a comment if you've made it to the end of this video. Tell me which of these 7 mistakes hit you the hardest and which one you're committed to eliminating first. I want to know who's ready to change their story.